Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, and today I'm hanging out with my Valentine, Nerdarchist Ted. What's going on, my man?
Not too much. We have to do the typical thing, and the person you normally had scheduled is like, oh, well, I'm not going to be there. So I'm like, all right, I'm here.
These things do happen at times, and we just roll forward and move on.
Yep. I mean, you could sit there and have a conversation to that little glass orb in front of you and
Nope,
talk to the masses out there, but
nobody wants
not as
that.
much fun.
Nobody wants that. I
Is
just
that a
get.
Saber Dice T-shirt you're wearing?
It might be, man. It might be.
Wow.
Could have
Nice.
got. You could have got your own too, but you might have missed your chance.
It's cool.
So yeah, they had the Save 4 Dice T-shirt shirt, and they had the Save War Dice. It was a really tough decision. The number 4 was just a thing throughout the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
You know, season 2, I might even want to blame it for the TPK. I don't know. The 4 was the 4 was the real MVP. That's for sure.
Well, I'll be getting in on Saber Dice pretty soon. Before too long, the Numenera game is going to start.
Oh yeah, what's going on over there, man?
I gotta look at the calendar now. It is going to be Monday the 26th is when that Saber Dice is going to start. And there's some chatter over there about the Numenera game that will be happening in less than 2 weeks at this point in time.
Nice. I know, there's been some chatter where people want to see us talk about other games and do other things.
Well, I'll be able to talk more about Numenera and see how the gameplay is different from the Cypher system that we'd wound up playing. Now, obviously, Scott's style versus Mike's style is, I imagine, going to be vastly different.
Oh, and not only that, too, you guys are going to, that was a conversion of Cypher system using a different campaign setting. So
Right.
Scott was really trying hard to get some of those elements from.
It's going to be vastly different because we wound up having, I think, 2 archetypes or 2 qualifiers on the game. Plus, depending upon what class you were associating yourself with in Shadowrun, like he was granting us extra stuff. So there's a lot more to our character sheets, and it was crazy.
Yeah, this will be a little bit more stripped down. And hey guys, whether you're joining us on Facebook or the YouTubes or Twitch, welcome. We are somewhat monitoring the chats in the other places. For whatever Facebook, the chat over there doesn't always show up for me here. So if you're there, you might want to come over to Facebook if you want to join the chat. And the chat is much more active over on YouTube, guys. So just a heads up. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Also, Numenera is its own system, so everything is geared towards that setting. So there's nothing to do there. It's going to be rules like the way it was intended to be, and I think Scott cranked it up a little bit, so it's going to be a different experience.
Right, he made it his style of game, so it'll be interesting to see what the proper feel of it is. Not to say that we didn't have fun with the game that we played. I thought it was a blast. The typical Scottism of it's always just too short. So I'll be happy to see what a proper length game is going to be like. I believe right now they're planning on like 10 to 12 sessions, but never know. This whole thing is going to be a new thing because every person that's attached to this game is someone new to me. So it's like, all right, it's going to be interesting.
Nice, should be a lot of fun. We got
Absolutely.
we got a lot of there's a lot of folks over there in that game, so I think you're gonna have a good time. And Mike Hunt is a fun guy, so we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to checking that out. And speaking of Saber Dice, we have our 2-parter, the second part going up tonight, live on the YouTubes on the Saber Dice channel, where we are playing our characters from season 1. So Jim Davis is back in the DM seat, and Andrew Armstrong is back with Jardone, and a very different Jardone from season 1. So we're having a lot of fun with that. It's like the party roles between Oliver and Jardone have switched from the first season. So, Cardboard Fortress, Numenera, totally different mechanics to make the game feel just like D&D sarcastically. Yay. No. Numenera is going to be Numenera. Surface System we played Shadowrun with it, so that was also very D&D-like. Kyle Ellis, question, if you could have any spell named after either of you already in the game and not named after a caster already, or one you create whole cloth with this, what spell would be your signature spell? Beardomancy.
You would want the whole Beardomancy thing for you?
Yeah, I just want a school of magic. I don't need a spell. I just want a whole school of magic. Beardomancy.
Well, you steal all kinds of thunder there. Hey, what's one spell that you want? I want an entire school.
Yeah.
Come on.
Give me an inch, and I will take the continent.
Well, I mean, if you wanna start going, down the greedy path, well, let's look at what are the most popular spells. Like, every mage that I know of loves Magic Missile, so why not have that one?
You want Ted's Magic Missile?
Magic Missile, or Identify, Detect Magic. The classics that are there. Shield, like these are like the top 4 first level wizards.
They're all lame next to the power of Beardomancy.
Well, yeah, but like I'm trying to stick true to the heart of the question. Pick one spell, not hey, let's go ahead and pervert his question and change something else. Beardomancy's not there yet. We haven't made it.
It's like he just asked the genie for a wish and he got the perverted version of it back. Justin Harris says, "Happy Valentine's Day, Dave and Ted."
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there, not just.
So,
Vince the Alchemist, you're underselling Beardomancy. Imagine stopping leaks, warming cold people, creating rope, making free wigs. The possibilities are endless.
So, we're going to be hitting some cons this year so far. We already have kind of a list, right?
We do. As of right now, I mean, we've been talking pretty heartily about Concoction that we're going to be going to in less than a month now. Actually, in a month, I think we'll already be back. I'm correct. We're talking about Origins, Gen Con, Gamehole Con. I believe those are the things on our list.
Yeah, Gen Con, Origins, PAX Unplugged. Gamehole Con is a maybe. We'll have to see if we can squeeze that, if that one can be squeezed in or not. So, which ones are you planning on hitting?
Well, obviously, all 3 of us are heading to Concoction. And like I'm really itching to get out to Gen Con and see what that's like. You've talked so much about like we went to PAX Unplugged together, and I've talked about some of the small cons that I've gone to, and the small cons that I've attended were smaller than PAX Unplugged, and you're like, man, this is nothing in comparison to Gen Con. So I would love to see what that's like.
Yeah, PAX Unplugged easily fits inside of Origins or Gen Con.
So, unfortunately, Origins falls into that Father's Day bracket, and I just think that I'm going to get way too much family guff. My kids are still young, so...
Don't worry, guys. I love gaming more than I love my kids. And you guys. So
maybe we'll see what the future holds. But as of right now, I'm planning to hit. If PAX Unplugged 2018 happens, that's right across the bridge. Absolutely be there. Gen Con, I'm going to do everything within my power to make sure I'm there. Doug's comment, Ted, Gen Con will astound you. I'm certain it will. I've seen some pictures of what people had shared on Facebook of like, I'm trying to get to that booth, and there is just this sea of people in between. It's like, man, crazy.
Don't worry about it. You're just going to have to get behind Nate and be like, move. Go, Nate, go.
It's like, we just do the Princess Bride thing. Nate can be like Fezzik. Everybody move!
Oh, there you go. Nate is our Fezzik. So yeah, I will be attending all the conventions we do. Ted has got the 3 he's going to do, and I'm not entirely sure what Nate's schedule is looking like. It's tough when you have to figure out what to do with 50 kids.
It's not 50.
It's like he's like that old woman in a shoe, only he's got more kids than her, and he doesn't have a cool shoe house.
I don't give it time. Maybe he'll make one.
Well, that's true. Maybe would that be considered like upcycling?
Maybe. I mean, if he adds an expansion one way and then just builds up as well, I think it could work.
So that being said, Doug will be at Concoction, and so will Megan, our chief and nerd editor and writer. Also, Doug will be at. I don't know which ones Doug downtime. I think he's going to be at Gen Con, and possibly Origins as well. It gets tough with the day jobs with the vacation time and stuff. And I guess the other thing is Origins is a long convention. Like, it's a big one. It's like from Wednesday to Sunday or something ridiculous.
That is lengthy.
Yeah.
And Doug is throwing out there that as of right now, writers AJ, Kinney, and Nubs are planning to go to ECC.
Yes, yeah. As far as I know, they are going to be out there, so look for them and tackle them with love.
Tackle them with love.
Yes. It might be tough to tackle Nigel. He's a big dude. He's like 6'3" or something, I think.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's a big guy. Oh, we got Nate in the chat. He's over on Twitch.
Yeah, so if there's other conventions that you guys are planning to go to and you'd like to see us there, you can always try to get a hold of the developers and see if they can extend an invitation to us and see what's going on there. If you let us know where you're at and where you'd like to see us, that's going to up the chance. And like I said, contacting the developers, the planners, that's going to increase our chances of getting there too.
Yeah, so that's always helpful, and that's one of the exciting things about Concoction. That is the first convention that we are invited guests to. So that was really cool for us to have that going on, and we're going to do a meetup that Thursday. Yeah, so the day before, and in the description there's a link to the survey to let us know if you're going to be there or not. So this way he can get a hold of you. Also, there is a link to the convention, so you can check that out. And I believe an article today just went up about the convention and us attending it, so you can check that out over at nerdarchy.com. So there's stuff happening there. So one of the other things that happened today I wanted to talk about too, our friend Brian Stillman, Seth Pulowski, which I'm probably butchering his name, and Kelly Schlegel, I want to say, but I'm probably also butchering her name as well. They're friends of Nerdarchy and have gotten to hang out with them and meet up with them a few times. They launched their Kickstarter today for the Art of D&D Eye of the Beholder. So you can get in on that pretty inexpensively, and it's a really cool thing. Like the amount of footage they've gotten for this thing is ridiculous.
Well, when we were on the cruise, we actually got to see a teaser for it. So this was more than a year ago, and it was still he had said then that there was a lot of footage.
Dude, they did a 10-hour interview with oh my god, I'm going to butcher his name too. It's got way too many vowels. John Cincinnati, or he was, which is totally butchered. But all you really need to know was, since the time Wizards of the Coast took over D&D from TSR up until just after the launch of 5th edition, he was the art director. He literally guided the art of D&D for that whole time, and they interviewed him for 10 hours. I'm like, dude, that is not an interview. That's a freaking interrogation.
But that's where we actually got to meet Brian for the first time, and that was really cool. And we actually got to game together and chat aways there and after. So I'm really excited to see what this project winds up becoming.
Dan, Eye of the Beholder, do the eyes have it? Yes, yes, they do. They're like 20% funded already, so they're doing pretty good with that. So I'm excited to see that. Oh, Gen Con, they will be doing the first screening. So we're definitely going to have to get hooked up with that.
So we are already in as a backer. So if you guys out there, if you want to jump in on that thing and get access, there's some awesome levels. There's some cool art that's going to be signed that you can get access to. So that'd be pretty fantastic.
And if you want to be like an executive producer, it's only like $10K.
Yeah, for $10,000, you can become the executive producer, credit on the film.
That might not be an accurate title, though. Disclaimer. It is some kind of producer title, though.
It does say executive producer credit on the film. So.
Okay, then it is. Yeah, I just assumed I was wrong.
I'm on the page now. So you get the signed art, you get the T-shirts, you get the DVD, you get to go to dinner with the filmmakers at Gen Con in
or New York,
or New York or Washington D.C.
Yeah. I actually feel a little privileged. I'm like, I've already went to dinner with them.
There's 2 T-shirts that you can get that are pretty darn cool.
The hook horror is badass. I'm digging that.
I like both of them. I think I would probably go with the Old Gamers Never Die, but the characters do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty fond of that one. But so, you guys, if you back it at the level to get T-shirts, you can decide which one you want.
They're so close to that 20% mark.
Yep.
Which is really cool. Which is always cool when you see like friends doing something cool. So also in Kickstarter news, then there's like Matt Colville that's ready to break 1 million. He's like 22,000 away.
I was actually kind of shocked that it hasn't hit the 1 million marker yet, because he was over 900,000 yesterday, and I'm like, it'll be 1 million before I look again, and I think it's kind of slowed down. I mean, when you were first looking at it, the number just kept cycling. It just kept going up and going up and going up.
Yeah, but it's always like that. The first 48. Hey, Fantasy Grounds College is in the house. Thanks for the super chat.
Oh, thank you.
Speaking of the NAG, I just figured out you can connect your Facebook group to your Facebook fan page. I don't know if that's a new thing or if I just discovered it while adventuring on the internet. Yes, Doug, that is the Tiamat level. And guys, if you have questions, feel free to ask away. So over on the concoction page, also you can see what games we're running and see what the panels are that we're doing. We're going to be doing like a live GM 911 War Stories kind of panel, and then we're going to also talk about playing D&D for a living to some extent or another. What game are you going to be running?
I'm doing my fan favorite or my favorite to run. I like doing my game that's a mashup of Betrayal at House on the Hill and D&D.
Are you going to be using the Betrayer House on the Hill game pieces?
I got to decide whether I'm carting that stuff out there and minis, because not everybody wants to this mini doesn't look like me, so I'm figuring it out, but probably yes.
Yeah, I think the tiles are pretty cool. Well, if you do pre-gen characters, then you can just pick. You can pick out the minis and then make the characters.
That is true.
I mean, that seems a lot easier than making the characters and then finding the mini.
That's true. I can certainly do that.
And I believe Nate is going to be running his Night Terrors game. And I am going to run the Maze of Mandoon. So that should be a lot of fun. I found that it plays weirdly depending on who's running it. Like the first time I ran it at a con, they ran away from everything. So it was like, all right, well, this was super fast.
So Cardboard Fortress wants to know, will we be reviewing the Gentleman class put out by Old Spice?
I think there's something going up on the website. We've kind of looked at it. I don't think we've determined whether we're going to do it as a video or not. We might.
I had contemplated it until I actually started, looking heavily at it, and it's a bastardization between 3.5 and 5th, because there's terminology used by both. So it literally has like a base attack bonus and fort save, reflex save, will save. So like very 3.5, but then when you actually start getting into class powers and that kind of stuff, it talks about advantage and whatever. So like if they made an official 5th edition, I would totally be on board for it. I think we could also talk about it and try to say, well, how would we make it be 5th edition?
There's also, I believe Paizo will also put out their own version. So now there's like a 2.0. Yeah. So maybe then I think we'd have to like compare the two.
Right.
And then maybe do our own.
So who knows? For you guys out there who don't know, all the behind the scenes stuff, Wednesday afternoon is when we figure out what we're filming for next week, or what we're going to film this weekend, which will then air next week.
So Cody Sams, educating a new to D&D DM. Do you sit down with them and help, or is his best learning experience to be a PC and watch someone else? I say throw him right in the fire, push him off the deep end in the pool, and see what happens.
Trial by fire is how a lot of DMs wind up getting their experiences, and you can help them out when they ask for it. When it comes to a rules call, if they don't know and you're a veteran player, you can either look it up for them and show them where it is, tell them what it is, or just accept whatever ruling they're going to make on the fly and move forward. And then afterwards, feel free to give them constructive criticisms and say, okay, I like this, I didn't like that. Here's what I could have done or would have done in those situations. Armchair quarterbacking can be challenging, just like the Monday morning quarterback. It can be a lot easier to decide after the fact when you're not there needing to make that decision in the moment. But everybody's got to have their first session at some point if they're contemplating, and some people totally rock it and some people don't.
So guys, hey, remember to put question in front of your questions so we can find them and pick them out. I haven't seen too many, so it might just be that we've missed them.
We got one from Fantasy Grounds College. Any fans or Nerdarchy staff going to show up for the virtual convention for FGCon April 13th through the 15th?
Yeah, I think what they do is like they open it up so that more people can use. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fantasy Grounds. So Fantasy Grounds themselves actually opens up Fantasy Grounds for that college, so more people can check it out and use it for free for that limited time. So they get to kind of take it for a test drive before they buy, kind of deal. So I don't know. We'll have to see what April looks like for us.
Have been reviewing some of your videos on D&Dizing superheroes and was wondering if you're going to do a video for Black Panther since the movie is coming out Friday.
That actually would be a pretty good one. I think we should watch the movie first and then do it. Because we don't have a great knowledge of that particular character. Although we could go watch Black Panther Explained in a Minute over on the Comic Book University.
we could do that one. We could doesn't he make an appearance in Civil War?
Yeah, but it's it's brief. I don't know if it's enough for us to go off of. So yeah, we haven't actually D&D'ized anybody in a while.
That is true. Elfbait has a comment that some veteran DMs have bomb sessions too, and I can definitely attest to that. Sometimes you're just off. Your material doesn't last as long as you want it to. The players go in a utterly wonky direction, and you have nothing planned. And while sometimes winging it can be awesome, not everybody can wing it well and wing it every time.
Oh, now I'm getting you, comrade. Oh, we got pounds again by Mind Milk D20.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Comrade, have you tried actually emailing our Gmail account at Nerdarchy? Because the contact form, we get a bunch of those, and they can get overlooked. We get a lot of messages from a lot of different platforms, and then when you start including comments as well as direct messages, they start to pile up really fast. And even though whatever the question someone might be asking at the time might seem really important to them, like in our list of priorities, it might not kind of match up because there's always a ton of stuff going on.
So we're getting bombarded with the questions now. Christian Jones, what do you guys think about a time loop plot armor to run Tomb of Horrors, as in a PC death equals a hard start and lose some max HP to go along with it, no long rests? So you can do short rests while you're running, but no long rests. So once you go in, you got what you got. If you die, you lose some max hit points and keep going.
It just depends on what your players want to do. But I mean, I don't see the point I don't see the point in when they die. Like if I was gonna do it when they die, I would just make them start with a new character.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it as well. Like,
come with a stack of character sheets.
Like if you're gonna say like, you get a hard reset, so you lose a couple of hit points and what's that, D6 off of your max, but then all of your powers reset. Like that's kind of weird. And eventually you're gonna get down to the point where your max hit points are 0 if you're running a really fatal game.
So. Brian Smith, based on the Critical Role solo scenes, is that something you guys have would use in your campaigns to spotlight a specific character? We haven't used it since we started recording our games, but before that, I think we just assumed everyone did that. Only, like, the difference was, like, you didn't send everyone away. The DM and the player would go into another room.
Right.
Or go away and figure things out.
You step away from the table, or, like, you have a conversation in between sessions. Like you end at a point where you can then role play that thing at a crux, and I've done that with just about every group I've ever played with, where either in between or you get pulled away from the table, everybody else just sits.
So TrueMate wants to know, have you ever had an NPC that you've enjoyed so much you reworked and reused them in different games and systems? So
I don't think there's anything that's been used in multiple systems. I mean, we've been pretty hardcore into, D&D is D&D. The people of Gryffindor have been used in both both of your games and mine. But I think that's just because of, location.
Hey, sorry, Mind Milk. The way the super chat showed up, and I'm using like in different chat window, it actually cut off your question. Favorite gaming accessories after dice and books?
Minis.
Right now I'm really digging D&D Beyond. Does that count as accessory?
It might. It's a digital tool.
I think that makes it really easy, and especially when I'm running online. And when I have the stack of books that are over my shoulder, when I don't have to drag that around with me. Like our last game, I didn't bring any books. I brought character sheets only because I knew David was going to need his, and mine has some notes on it. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have brought those. So right now, I'm really digging that. Minis and stuff like that's cool.
Cody Sam says, I think Beyond counts as dice and books.
Oh, dice and books. They do have a dice rolling app in there somewhere, I think. I think it's kind of weird. It's not like fleshed out yet. It's not their main push. But it's also a database, so I can't tell my books to search for something and have it pull the information I want it. Wyked once says a question. I would like to play a Fey Blood in a game, and I'm thinking of a monk or druid. Would it fit the race? What do you think? Oh, well, druid, obviously. I mean, druid and Fey. And, you can always reskin things as well.
Yeah, you could certainly do a Fey origin monk. Like, you don't have to change the powers. You could just say that the monastery is in the Fey Wild. You could go with Eladrin, especially after what they're talking about with Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Like, they're talking about really ramping up the Fey connection to elves, and Eladrin being more Fey than any of them. Going in that direction, I think would really work for that character, whether you go druid or monk.
Yeah, I mean, you could be an orphan. There's so many different ways you could go with it. If you want it to be like Dark Fey, I could see like the way of the Shadow would work really well. If you want it to be like a Fey that was like kind of into debauchery, like Drunken Master could be a fun choice. So I feel like you definitely have some options and some things you can play with there.
Yeah, and then with Druid, there's a number of different things that would work. But Druid and Fey, and they go hand in hand. I mean, they even have spells that summon Fey creatures. So,
and with the Circle of Dreams, it's that's already like the Fey Druid anyway. So if you wanted to double down on your Fey, you could easily. Gary Smith, more of a GM 911, I guess, but I run 2 groups. One battles are epic, but my urban game battles are generally anticlimactic. What tips do you have to spice up urban adventures? Well, it depends what you're doing with your battles. Like, I mean, and where you're having them. On rooftops could be a lot of fun. In the sewers could be a lot of fun. I don't think your setting, wilderness, urban, dungeon, any of that's really going to influence it that much. It's just like if you think the battles are epic that you're having outside of the urban adventure, like you need to kind of like dissect what's epic about them, what's making those battles more fun, and try and introduce that into the other game. And if it's a different group of players, it could be the players. It could be a lot of things.
Well, they always say the key point of real estate is location, location, location. So as Dave says, if you take it from you're just having a fight in the middle of town to what if you're in a tight alley? These types of weapons aren't going to work here. You can't get past somebody to do this or that. The fighter, he's got his shield out and he's got a spear over top, because it's the walls are close in on him, and there's one dude who's trying to get through, and he's trying to prevent them. But then once if he falls, unless the cleric is right behind him, it creates an issue. So you can have some crazy stuff like that. You can incorporate skill challenges as part of the combat. So you're on the rooftop. Well, you got to make an athletics check to not slip off and fall off the roof if you make a move. So I think there's a lot of things that could be done to make it memorable, to make it more fun.
Hey, Devin, if you're finding we're not answering your questions or addressing you, it's probably because you haven't put a question in front of it, so it's really easy for us to miss. A lot of chat between the participants in the chat goes on, so, GM91 or question lets us pick them out much easier. Playing a shape-shifting druid and my paladin buddy wants to ride me into battle. Thoughts on best way for us to do this, and also how to get armor onto my shape. You just would need barding and take the time to put the armor on, and then when you get knocked out, you're out of it. You're gonna be like sitting on these pile of pieces. As far as getting mounted by your paladin, what you guys do in your free time is up to you. No, you just do it. I mean, one of the players in our game would turn into a bear, and my character would jump on his back and just attack things, and Ted would determine if we had to make checks to not fall off or whatever. The player that's riding doesn't have to use our movement for anything. and they get to kind of piggyback off the movement of what they're riding. I think you might be overthinking a little bit as far as that part of it. It's just like, are you going to have to make a handle animal check on it? Ooh, or if if the paladin has mounted combat, I think he can use those features in conjunction, or I would allow it anyway.
Yep. So we got a question from Dan Acton. How do we feel about the plane shift stuff from Magic the Gathering?
There's like 4 or 5 videos on that.
So we've done a review of all of it. I've actually had them all like physically printed into books to be able to use. There's a lot of great material. We haven't used anything directly. Dave, pulled something out and used it as a Titan creature for the backdrop of a session. But there's a lot of great stuff that's there, and you can whole cloth incorporate that as a section of your world. You could have a campaign in any one of those PDFs, or you could rip out whatever it is that you like best and put it into your world. I highly recommend it. So I'll answer Fragander's question. The next RPG Great Game is going to be 7th level. They haven't read it yet, so I don't know what else is going on. So for those people out there who watch the RPG Great Games, next one is coming up in a couple of weeks.
We'll also find out how well you do with streaming it. So there's been some changes.
That's a technical thing that I'm going to have to figure out soon.
Next level 88. How do you guys handle demon lords as big bads? I find their chaotic natures interferes with any long-term plans that could take up a whole campaign arc. Ted, I guess you should address this one.
Well, if you look at any of the demon lords out of the abyss, like, yeah, they might be chaotic, but not every one of their minions is necessarily going to be chaotic and whimful. So if you're looking to do a long and protracted game, like, you're going to have trusted agents who are going to be doing things for them. And unless you're physically going to the hells of the abyss or what have you, you're not going to be dealing with them anyway. Now, in my game, I've had a variety of different creatures all serving Narcitus. There's been gnolls, there's been orcs, there's been doppelgangers, there's been a variety of other critters and creatures, stretching from agents on the mountaintop to agents in, as we call it, the beneath, but the Underdark, that were showcasing that no matter where the party went, this guy's minions were everywhere trying to thwart what it is that they were doing. So depending upon how far you want to seed this bad guy's plots and deals, you don't need to be like, oh, he's chaotic, so you never know what they're going to do. You can easily say, well, I'm going to treat this as an intelligent creature who's going to do X, Y, and Z, and thus his minions are going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I mean, just because they're chaotic, it doesn't mean they all have to be completely batshit crazy all the time. There can be some wiggle room in there, and they tend to be really intelligent monsters. Quite a few of them, so that's going to be a factor too. They may be chaotic, but when if you have a genius level intelligence,
I've focused far more for this particular villain on the evil side of things rather than on the chaotic side of things.
Well, and that makes sense too. Let's see, here it is. I'm looking for the demon lords now.
In D&D Beyond?
Yes, in D&D Beyond. So I'm just curious. This guy is kind of beastie, and that's 18 intelligence. I'm just looking at them in order. We've got a 20 intelligence. We got a 26 intelligence. We got a 23 intelligence. So these are intelligent foes. Like, yeah, they might be kind of a little bit on the crazy side and chaotic, but at the end of the day, when you're talking super genius and above, and DD like intelligence. I would give it to them and still say they can come up with some plans still.
So like 18 being the low out of that group. I mean that's genius. 20 is super genius. 26 is like unfathomable by human means.
Yeah, so like even in their chaos and craziness, like who knows, they may even incorporate that into their own plans.
So like okay, you take the chaotic factor into account of all right, well he does something that the players might not expect because it's going to have unforeseen by human standards consequences on the in the future. Something that might wind up looking like a good deed now in a century. Well, that's going to bear fruit for his plans. So if you wanted to really go into the chaotic nature, you could take it from that perspective. He's looking at it from the long game, because these guys are going to be around forever. They don't ever think that they could fall or they could be utterly destroyed.
So,
right, so here's one for you, Dave, because this has happened. Xerath Gaming, how would you handle a resurrection in early game, tier 1?
How would I handle it? It depends. Like most of them don't have the ability to do it. For the most part, I've done it as a RP thing in previous editions. When it was harder to get raised or resurrected anyway. If in 5e, once you get to 5th level, coming back is fairly easy. At the lower levels, well, why do you want to raise or resurrect them? Like, is there a story implication? Is there a story reason for it? Or do you just feel bad because you murdered one of your players? Don't worry about it, man. Sometimes you just got to show them you mean business.
I killed...
it's like prison rules.
I killed by accident, Mark's character in, the early game of, Curse of Narcissus, before it was even called that. And it was like, all right, well, he just kind of was like, well, can I change my background and name? And
wait a minute. I want to address how you handled his resurrection. He repeatedly have raised him as a blood zombie to kill our horses. That's how you handle resurrection for those low-level characters. They keep coming back and they murder the party's horses. We had a bad reputation, in the whole equestrian circles for a long time, and no one would sell his horses because they just kept dying, and we might have fed one to a winter wolf. But that was all right because it was some Circle of Life bullshit.
Varys, he was awesome.
So GM911 from Nitro 6. I have a party of 6 players who are 3rd level, and about half of them deal insane amounts of damage, and another halves deal moderate amounts of damage. Am I reading the abilities wrong? Well, if some classes are geared towards doing damage, and some are geared towards doing other things. So, maybe you need to find out how to highlight those other things that the other characters are probably good at, instead of just, focusing on damage and the combats. That would be the way to do it. But, as far as, are you reading it wrong? I have no idea what you're reading. So, they could be 6 fighters for all I know.
Well, I mean, some fighters are going to wind up doing more damage than others. Like if you start going Battle Master, you've got the dice to chuck around, and having witnessed many sessions that characters just don't roll high. Yes, there is the increased likelihood of crits on the champion, but they're not going to out damage a Battle Master. An Eldritch Knight is going to also be chucking out some extra damage with their spells, so I kind of see them as in the middle.
Well, and rogues and rangers and warlocks, they just do more damage. Sorcerers can dish out a lot of damage, so it really depends. Cardboard Fortress wants to know: have we listened to the Adventure Zone yet?
I don't know what the Adventure Zone is, so no.
I believe it's a podcast.
Okay.
I believe. Unless I'm wrong, then it's something completely different. Let's see. TrueMate has if your party's acting like murder hobos, would you set the paladins on them? For some reason, I was thinking, would you set the paladin on fire? Yes, I would. Yeah.
So I mean, like,
flaming paladins for everyone. Yes, set flaming paladins on them.
So, like, you have to kind of scale things up, but eventually, if the players aren't getting the fact that what they're doing is against the law and is not appreciated, yeah, absolutely. The group of paladins that are going to come out there that are significantly higher level, and you know what? They're all going to be vengeance paladins. They're all going to smite the heck out of these characters, and yeah, they're going to learn. But
and evil might start trying to recruit them. That would be fun too.
So like you could go in a bunch of different directions with it. But like if players are doing something in your game and you're not really happy about it, before you start going down that far, I would have a conversation, because like if you're not happy about what your players are doing in your game and you're not having fun, like that part becomes crucial. You need to say, look, guys, this is not the kind of thing that I was prepared to do, and if this is the kind of game that you want to play, perhaps you need to find a different DM, or perhaps we can, change what this story is, and have a post session 1, session 0, and talk about what kind of game you're looking to do. Session 0 answers so many questions and gets the players and the GM on the same page, and failing to do that, creates these issues.
Yeah, some people just want to play Grand Theft Auto D&D,
And that's cool if everybody is into it. That's not particularly my style of game. I have no problem doing like a basic dungeon crawl, but I don't want to kill people just to kill people. If all I want to do is combat, put me in a dungeon crawl. Let me play D&D the board game, and we get stuff and we level up and we have fun and we kill monsters. But I'd rather kill monsters than kill townsfolk.
So Strandom wants to know: do you think dual classes should return to D&D? I never used them in a D&D, so I wouldn't use them now.
Nate did some dual classing. I think I had one dual class character, but
Nate would dual class. He would.
Back in 2nd edition, I was all about the elf, so I played elves like 85+% of the time. So elves can't dual class.
True mate, surprised that the demon lords have the level of intelligence. Thought that would be more of a devil's area. Oh, the devils have it too. They're just at that point when you're a demon lord, you're a freaking cosmic being for all intents and purposes.
All right, so Nate has responded. Dual classing is too powerful, and it won't work in 5e. Once they changed the mechanics from 2nd to 3rd, it really alleviated any possibility of doing dual classing. So I don't think it could really ever come back.
Oh, so Fantasy Grounds College, that's a good question. I don't know if it's come up. In all of your RPG history, have you role-played out scenarios like an honored PC's death, funeral, or wake in a game, or in a game or wedding? I did do a funeral in my game, but it's like always horrible when you do these things because like you're doing it during the game, so something bad's gonna happen. But it was for an NPC. It wasn't for one of the player characters. It was an NPC that actually died of old age. And then the graveyard got resurrected as zombies and demons showed up and there was a nightmare involved. But yeah, so I've done that. We haven't really done other than that. I don't remember any funerals. The funeral is like your
short ceremony for Varys, but we didn't make it be a production.
And we were poor, we were low level. Like usually like the PC, his stuff is looted from his body before he even hits the ground. So, there's that. I am working on having a wedding in Ted's game. We'll see if it happens.
We'll see if it happens. You you haven't done much communication, with her, and now it's all about. Oh, Uncle Peter says there was Trisgard in my game who did die.
Oh yeah.
He got a thing that Scott took care of. But kudos to Uncle Peter for calling that out.
For remembering.
But that was like an NPC, very different than a PC death. I actually need to send a Facebook message to you guys and figure out, like, all right, we need to figure out what the plan is. I have some ideas to throw down, but I mean, I want your guys input. I think you guys have have just as much say, if not more so, about where the events unfold from here. I look at there's like 7 sessions left in this game before it gets wrapped up. So
I gotta go back to town. Do some corresponding. I gotta dump some silver goop on my axe.
So to people, or somebody who asked, chat's moving too quickly for me to, go back and grab that name. But yes, the Dresden Files has an RPG. It's based off of the Fate system. You can get it in Accelerated, or you can get it in Fate Core.
One day we will play those games.
And I will be so happy that somebody else is running it.
But you have the books.
I have the books because I want to play the game. But I ran the last Dresden Files game. Somebody else has to run it.
We'll have to let's get Mark to do it.
I think Mark's game will be much more combat heavy than I'm looking forward to.
Rocks fall, you all die. It'll be very much like a Grumpy Cat game.
Part of me wants to take that NPC that I made for my Dresden Files game and try to see if I can make that be the character.
I don't remember the NPC. Which one?
Oh, the guy who wanted to be Spider-Man.
Oh. So yes, but he was just weird and gross.
Well, I think it'd be very, very fitting for that kind of thing. I don't know. I'd have to see what the game is and how it all works. But that was a character that I was very proud of.
I had the best character in that game, Kenny Long. He got his supernatural powers from a fortune cookie.
He did.
There was a spirit of a monk trapped in there who possessed him.
That game was a lot of fun.
I think you should run and you should restart your game with the rules.
Maybe we'll see.
Let's see. I saw a couple questions in here.
While you're looking, what do you think of a spellcaster type character that does not use any attacking spells, but rather acts through many summons and uses utility spells that don't directly damage enemies?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Cardboard Fortress.
So Strandom, there's absolutely no problems with using non-damaging spells. I in fact in one of my fan games, Fraginator, he specifically chose spells that couldn't damage enemies, and it was hilarious.
Corbin Fortress was asked the original question, and he asked you to say anything but Dresden Files. Thanks, Ted. What novel series would you like to see a RPG or setting? You can't say Dresden Files.
I can't say Dresden Files.
Adventures of Richard Burton and Swinehill would be a good one. Ministry of Peculiar Occurrences would be another one that I wouldn't mind.
I love Jim Butcher. He's one of my favorite authors. So the Aeronauts Windlass. You can go with the whole ether-flicing and all of that jazz would be great. Fraginator says Codex Alera. Both of those would be fun. But I mean, there's plenty of fantastic settings and worlds that are out there. I think it could be fun if you take it in the right vein, because to go with Xanth, not everybody can handle that amount of puns, but I think playing there would be hilarious if you get somebody to do it properly.
Xanth, huh? Ugh. Ugh.
I know you. I know you. But
I say ugh again. Boots on it growing on a tree, and your sword's growing on a tree. It's just so silly.
Well, yeah, but sometimes silly games can be fun.
I'll run that game for you, Ted. Nickelpedes. You all get fucking nickelpedes. Now we can move on to the next game.
Why not quarterpedes or dimepedes?
I don't know. Did they exist?
I don't think so. But I mean, come on. Once you take it over, it's your world.
That's true.
Mind you, I think the series is still going. I stopped at book 19.
Wow, that was a lot of those to read. Yeah. Also, the other thing for it would be really good. The Vlad series. That world's a lot of fun too.
It's been a long time. I wonder if there's any books out that I haven't picked up in that series, because I imagine he's still going.
What was it? Burst?
Stephen Brust.
Stephen Brust. Yeah, that was some good stuff. Also,
him and his Dragarians, which is really elf.
Last of the Renshai series was really good, but I don't know if I would want to play that as a campaign.
There's not enough magic for that world to really make it happen. I mean, you had the 4 wizards, and you had some other things. I think we just have the blinders on to how fabulous the Renshai are.
Yeah, that's all anybody would want to play, and then it's then it becomes lame like Star Wars with everyone being a Jedi. Super lame and boring. So, Firefly, that you have that game somewhere, right? So that'd be a cool one to play. Although I don't know, I imagine there's books for it.
It's the Serenity role-playing game.
Yeah, and also, guys, if you happen to want to hang out with us in the Ohio area, there is the survey in the description, so you guys can check that out and fill that out, so we know who's going to show up. Otherwise, it's just going to be us hanging out with Doug and Megan. Which I guess there's nothing wrong with that. Doug, you can run a game for us. I nominate. Oh, we'll get Megan to run.
Yeah, I haven't.
She owes us a game for sure. She's played in a lot of our games.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually getting to meet those two when we actually get out there.
Yeah, they're good people.
As well as all of the other fans that may or may not be joining us.
It's just going to be us. We'll just have to make new fans.
Yeah, we're going to have all this pizza, and we're going to be required to eat it.
Although I think one of the places Doug was checking out is a game cafe, so they might have food other than pizza.
I was just making a joke, dude.
So
it'll be interesting. Not require you have pizza
and Mountain Dew and Cheetos. We should do that. We should just serve Mountain Dew and Cheetos.
The Cheetos!
And give them darkness.
Nate says pizza and beer.
Well, Ted'll be thirsty. If we just do
water somewhere.
Maybe. We're going to remove all the water.
Now he's amended it to burgers, fries, pizza, and beer.
Warhammer. I want to play Warhammer too, especially after talking to Devil's Luck Gaming, because they're running a Warhammer game with 5e. Also,
there's a lot of rich history in Warhammer. While the base game is all about a miniature war game, there's so much stuff that they create. History and lore wise, you could easily, take whether it be 40K or fantasy into a, into an RP game without a problem.
See, next level 88 won't be there, but if you if you top in Middle State, PA, on your way home, we can hang out. Hey, we're not going to be that far from there, man. That's within driving, because we have to like drive all the way through PA to get there.
So Cardboard Fortress says I like Diablo or Torchlight series setting. Back in third, I think it was, Diablo actually had a book or a campaign box that you could run stuff out of, and I actually did every once in a while when like somebody was missing or what have you. We had alternate characters, and I did a Diablo dungeon crawl thing, with our group.
Do you know what Torchlight is?
It's another similar Diablo-esque kind of game.
Oh, okay. It made me think of Torchwood. I'm like, yeah, Torchwood, that would be a pretty cool game to play. Because, like, I'm like, oh, Doctor Who's cool, but, like, everyone's going to want to be a doctor, right? And you can't all be doctors, so.
I don't know anything about Doctor Who.
Well, no one's perfect. But Torchwood would be a lot of fun, because that kind of, like, shows how you could play a game in the Doctor Who universe without, like, any doctors involved. Truemate would love to see a Nerdarchy Guardsman party. We should do like a dwarf game. We have the minis.
I would like to do a dwarf game. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Random question: would you rather run 40k Warhammer Sci-Fi, or would you rather run fantasy Age of Sigmar type 5e game? I don't really know anything about 40k.
Like I just said, there's lots of lore for both. You could go in a bunch of different directions. I think it'd be difficult to do, like, unless you pull like you're all the same faction, or you're all on the light side or you're all on the dark side. I think it'd be hard to be like, well, make whatever you want, and we're gonna force you to work together because of blah. It'd be very challenging. So you'd have to have a very, very, very strong, very hard set session 0 to figure out what kind of game that's going to be. I think it'd be far easier to do a 5e game for Warhammer Fantasy than it would be to try and like bastardize something to make 40k work. Like, you might be able to do it pretty well with Mutants and Masterminds. I'd have to look at what Genesis looks like. I think that'd be a pretty good system if it's similar to Star Wars. So yeah, there's my couple of cents.
Yeah, I wonder if you could actually use the Star Wars, since it's already got the sci-fi flavoring.
There's not enough things there to make the magic work, and the magic is pretty heavy.
The whole force is magic.
You're not throwing fireballs and lightning bolts and that kind of stuff. No, there's Sith lightning, so you can't do lightning that way.
See, lightning.
But
oh, well, it is that time.
Oh wow! I didn't realize we already crossed over.
We went over. I was waiting for Ted to say something. He's usually the one who gets on the time.
Usually, but answering questions and just kind of chatting and moving on.
Yeah, Cody Sands, racial tension in games. Do you use it? Dwarf game. What will happen? It was all hill dwarves except one Dugar who would have a rough time. It showed up in Ted's game, but not like really super hostile. So,
I mean, it becomes a problem. The more you want to emphasize it, and I like to put things in there to see if people are going to buck against it and try to correct it. So while Analasalar was like, yeah, you're a dwarf, and had the preconceived notions, like his assistant that you encountered, a lot in the very beginning.
Yeah, he hated me.
He was always the buffer, and he was, I don't like dwarves. So you were always hitting this wall of, well, he's busy, but I need to see him, but he's busy.
Yeah.
He wasn't like in your face of, I can't stand dwarves, but indirectly was the
I can't stand dwarves. Yeah. Well, I guess with that we
All right, I got to share Nate's quote. My elf is not racist. He just knows elves are the master race.
Everyone can have their own opinion, even when it's wrong. With that, guys, until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.